personal interest only if you hold a tenancy or lease, provided you do not have arrears of rent of more than 2 months. So personal interest only. Thank you. Are there any other interests?
Okay.
Personal interest.
Councillor Hennigan.
Councillor Revenue, I think it's item 12.
Thank you. Councillor Mary Jones. I'll go to Chris first then. Chris.
Councillor's question, page 232. The first question is about social services, and my daughter works for social services, and I'll leave the room.
Councillor Mary Jones.
A family member receiving social services, but it's child and family, not actually older people. And also, do we need to declare as a community councillor for the, I haven't got the agenda in front of me, whatever that number is. Sorry, the tax base, the council tax base. Do we? No. Okay, so it's only the social services. Thank you.
Anybody online? No.
No. Yes, me, Jeff Jones, the same as Mary, actually, family member receiving services from social services.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Mike White.
Agenda item 12, my stepsister is the county tenant.
Councillor Anderson.
Yeah, item 12, agenda item 12. I got family living in council properties.
Mike Day. Sorry, Councillor Day.
Item 13, as a member of the Admissions Forum.
I think I'll have to declare on that as well, Deb. Okay. He as a member.
Yeah, same item 12. My mother-in-law is a council tenant.
Me, item 12, council tenant. I'm the council tenant.
Councillor Robert Smith.
Yes, if we're declaring an admissions forum, I'm also a member.
Okay, is that it? Okay, oh, who's it? Oh. Councillor Furlong.
Item 12, I've got a family member in council housing.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else online? Okay. Okay, we move on to the next item then, and that's the minutes. It's to approve and sign the minutes of the previous meeting as a correct record, and that's pages through 1 to 5. I'll go through them by pages. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, and page 5. All in agreement?
Move.
Thank you. The next item is the written responses to questions asked at the last ordinary meeting of council, and that's on pages 6 through to 9. Then I have the announcements of the presiding member. Unfortunately, we're starting with condolences. It's the former Lord Mayor. It's with sadness that I refer to the recent death of the former Lord Mayor and former councillor Cynwyn Thomas. Cynwyn served as Lord Mayor for 2014-15 and was the councillor for 27 years, representing the Mynydd Bach ward. Cynwyn served Swansea City Council from 23rd of May 1990 to the 31st of March 96. And the City and County of Swansea from May 95 to May 2017. It's also so saddened that I refer to the recent death of former councillor Hilary Sullivan. Hilary was a former West Glamorgan County councillor serving the Town Hill community. Okay, so can we stand for a minute silence and please? Yeah. Thank you. The next is on a nicer notice. I'm delighted to congratulate the youth service team for being awarded the Bronze Quality Mark The bronze quality mark shows the standard of youth provision across the 5 clubs in Swansea. It evidences that our youth service team provide a safe space for young people to thrive. The assessor stated that the youth service team had exceeded the performance indicators. The assessment included the youth service manager, staff, partners and young people from Access Service, all of whom praised the service and the impact that the key workers were having on their lives. The involvement of the young people in shaping and designing the provision shone through and was highly commended by the assessors. The council should be very proud of its staff who provide safe spaces and trusted adult relationships for young people. On behalf of the council, I'd like to congratulate all involved and ask for a round of applause for the youth service team. Hey, Hayley, you said it, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Presiding Member. And yeah, if I can just take the opportunity to thank Paul, all the members of staff that have brought young people here tonight and the young people themselves as well, because you know, the assessors did shine a light on how involved the young people are in shaping the youth service and the provision that it is today. So it's a massive credit to them. And I think the words that they kept coming out with were wow, you know, that they'd far exceeded all expectations. And yeah, it's a credit to them. So thank you.
Well done all. I've got your plaques here, so they're amazing. Okay, thank you very much, all of you. You're welcome to stay if you want to, or you can leave. It's up to you. You're welcome to stay to see how they all behave if you like. Okay, the next announcement is each year the Welsh Language Commissioner encourages people to use their Welsh in everyday life during special campaign week. This year is November 25th to December the 9th, and the campaign aims to raise confidence and to increase the use of Welsh language services. Realising the vision of a Wales where people can live in Welsh, please use your Welsh. The next is to congratulate Councillor Fiona Gordon. Fiona has recently been named the Joint Welsh Learner of the Year for 2024 in Carmarthenshire. Well done, Fiona. And the next is for the Boundary and Commission. I'm not going to read it all out. It's all online. So if anybody wants to go online to read the results, are there. Okay. The next is a senior staff update. Dave Howes, Director of Social Services, recently underwent an operation and is likely that he will be off for some time. The Appointments Committee held on the 30th of October 2024 appointed Amy Hawkins as the Interim Director of Social Services. Lucy Friday has been appointed Interim Head of Adult Services to backfill Amy, and the Chief Executive will provide updates on Dave and has passed on the Council's best wishes. Tracy Meredith, Chief Legal Officer, Monitoring Officer, will retire on the 15th of December 2024. The Appointments Committee held on the 2nd of December 24 considered options for dealing with the retirement and appointed Deb Smith as the Interim Chief Legal Officer, Interim Monitoring Officer for a period of up to 12 months. Whilst the permanent replacement is recruited, I am sure Council will join me in thanking Tracy for all her work and input over the years and to wish her all the very best for her retirement. And also congratulations to Debbie, who has been invaluable in covering Tracy whilst she's been on long-term absence. So well done, Bez. Okay.
Yeah, Chair, thank you very much. If I could also just add thanks on behalf of the Council for Mr Howes' work. Mr Howes obviously had his operation recently, but up to the day he had his operation, he was continuing to work in the authority, and he is a real trooper, and I'm sure everybody sends him our best wishes. And obviously we're really pleased to have Amy covering his portfolio for the period he's off convalescing. Also, again, worked with Tracy for many years, and sad to see Tracy not able to return to the Council following a period of illness. I'm sure everyone will wish her best in her retirement. And again, congratulate Debbie on the appointment then, and look forward to working closely with Debbie, who has also covered the post for a number of months already and has done a sterling job as the Chief Legal Officer for the authority. So thank you both very much.
Thank you, Councillor Stewart. The next is Caroline Miller will be retiring on the 12th of January 2025 after 43 years. She started in the Glyn Vivian Art Gallery back in September 1981, and since then she's held various roles across the council, including the Maritime Museum and Building Control for about 8 years. Caroline was then promoted to become secretary to assistant engineer and spent time working with the surveyors team. She then was appointed as secretary to the former head of service before moving to the Lord Mayor's office, prior to settling within the Cabinet Office for the past 20 years. Our best wishes to be passed on to Caroline. The next is Together at Christmas. Swansea Council, in partnership with JR Events and Catering, ran the Together at Christmas initiative on the 3rd of December. The event provided a free Christmas carvery lunch for the homeless, isolated and those in need. And can I thank everybody that was involved? I believe we served over 500 meals this year, which is amazing. Again, it's pleasing to see so many people wearing the Christmas attire at council this evening, and we ask that those wearing Christmas jumpers, ties, etc. consider donating £5, and the Grinches amongst those not wearing Christmas attire consider donating £10. All donations will be made to the homeless charity. And I was told there was an illegal one in the chamber tonight wearing a scarlet jumper. I was asked to make that announcement.
Chair, I believe the fine for that is £20.
And that should be a minimum fine of £20.
That's okay.
Obscene jumper in this Swansea Council chamber.
Okay, thanks to everybody. I think that's the end of my announcements. Thank you. The next is the announcements of the leader, Councillor Stewart.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I've got a little bit of overlap with my announcements with yours. You mentioned the Together at Christmas event. Can I also add my thanks to the work that's been done by all of the volunteers, the members in this chamber, in supporting that event again this year. It's I think 10 years since we started it. It's about our 7th time we've done it, because obviously we had a break during COVID. Over 500 people came through our doors. We not only provided hot meals to the people there, including takeaway meals they could take with them, but they were able to make use of free clothing, free haircuts, and of course invaluable advice and support from a number of services and charities who were supporting the event on the day. Can I also pay special thanks to our partners who run that event, JR Catering, Jess and Jamie, who again powerhouses in terms of bringing that event forward each year. And I really do thank them for all of the efforts they've done, and everybody who helped make that event a real bonus this year. I was on my usual post of doing the roasties and the stuffing this year. I know we had the new dessert queens working down the road there, serving people, but it was great to see the people coming along, and a constant comments from people coming in, some of whom are obviously vulnerable or homeless, saying that this was the best day of the year for them, and it really hit home. So long may we be able to do that, but I hope a time comes when we won't need to do that, and I'm sure that is a thought shared by many. Alongside that, Chair, we're also heavily pushing our Together, Here For You This Winter programme. That is a multifaceted programme. I know there are questions on it in the agenda, so I won't say too much on it, but just a quick update in terms of over 291 organisations have been successful in securing grants as a result of that programme, and over 1,000 vouchers have been provided to families across the authority to help them with the costs of Christmas this winter. That comes on top of the ability for people to take free travel, to attend free events, for people to get free IT equipment before they return to school, and of course for us to be able to support them as we did on Tuesday with that very special Christmas event. So very proud of the work that this authority is doing again to support those most in need this Christmas and this winter. And again, thanks to everybody who's playing a part in making that happen. That concludes my announcements for today. Thank you, Presiding Member. Sorry, there was one further, apologies. Can I also take the opportunity to congratulate the Wales national women's team on this astounding achievement of reaching the European final, European Championships, and wish them all the best in that competition and hope they go on to win it. So thank you, Chair.
Holly?
Yes, thanks. Can I correspondingly agree with the leader on congratulating the women's football team and to follow along with the men's success as well. I think it's just a fantastic effort by them, but I also like to thank everybody involved in it, because it's not just the 11 players, it's all the coaches and the staff, and also the family members that run them around and what have you. I think it's a tremendous achievement and one that they should be extremely proud of. Thank you.
Deb, was that? Okay, the next item is public questions. I don't believe we've got any. So we're moving on to the mid-term budget statement for 24-25. And I'd like to call on Mr. Ben Smith, please.
Thank you, presiding member. I will be very brief because this is an information item only, and I put it on the agenda to give you something on the record. To some extent, it's a bit of a mug's game because next week we expect the Welsh Government to announce its budget on Tuesday and the settlement for us on the Wednesday. But it was still important to put something in front of you to give you an opportunity to discuss if you wish to, and to ask me questions. A confession, it was written overnight straight after the budget announcement on the 30th of October, and I saw not fit to update it because not much has really changed. In terms of key takeaways, I think it should come as no surprise that the commentary from the Institute of Fiscal Studies, Wales Fiscal Analysis, the OECD, is that inflation is likely to be a bit higher than expected. Interest rates will take a bit longer to come down, but crucially for us, given our borrowing strategy, our unique borrowing strategy should still hit that 3.5% for externalising our deferred borrowing in line with the previous medium-term financial plan. As the information item makes clear, we await with trepidation and anticipation what may come next week. And I think the biggest issue is going to be there's going to be a lot of cash floating around in the ether, but it is what it is worth, not only in real terms in terms of inflation, and we could debate all day what inflation is. The headline CPI inflation figure has gone from 1.7 to 2.3%, but for the last 3 years, the thing I look at is core service inflation, including housing and council tax costs, and that's been more like 5 or 6% consistently throughout. You are well aware of the demand and demography issues that face all councils, and that even if there is a lot of money sloshing around, it may not be worth much in real terms. The big uncertainties are the promises made by the previous UK government in terms of very substantial amounts of teachers' pensions money coming, and I expect to be transferred into the settlement. Promises made by the Welsh Government in terms of additional funding for teachers' pay, also expected to come in. But the biggie, and the one that's probably causing greatest anxiety for all treasurers, is what is going to happen in terms of the national insurance compensation. And there is a risk that the national insurance compensation is not finalised by next week and could be not within the settlement. And each and every one of those assumptions over demand, demography, those big transfers could materially affect my rather bold statement and assertion at the time that I'd be disappointed if the settlement wasn't 6 to 7% in cash. We will see what's in and what's not in next week. But I think that's all I wanted to say in terms of technical advice, not in the report in terms of late breaking stuff. Today, the Auditor General for Wales has issued his financial resilience report nationally on all 22 authorities and come to the not stunning conclusion that all councils face a very grave sustainability issues going forward in terms of their finances. And perhaps the most important factor that has stressed me out today is my daughter's trusty calculator that has seen me write for the last 10 years worth of budgets decided to expire. Its battery gave up. I don't know what you call an accountant without a calculator, but I think I shall finish at that point. It's just an opportunity to put something formally on the record. Happy to try and answer questions, but there may be quite a few dunnos because there's quite a lot of uncertainty about what's in and not in when we get the Welsh lens next week. We saw the Scottish Government's lens this week, and the English authorities haven't had their settlement yet. But a lot to look forward to for me. I'm going to be a busy person over the next week in terms of digesting what comes out, and very soon thereafter, I'm sure I'll be briefing you all in due course as the budget round proper starts in earnest. One of the items on later on is the official start of budget setting. I'll stop there. Thank you, presiding member.
Thank you, Ben. I hope Father Christmas brings you a new calculator so you can be able to carry on with your work.
I do keep insisting I've been a very good boy. Some people might disagree.
Councillor Stewart.
Firstly, can I thank Mr Smith for the update and for the work that he continues to do to try and track all of the decisions made in both UK and Welsh Government. Just to refer members that we continue to lobby heavily as a WLGA to both governments, both on the NI issue, to make sure that that is resolved in an amicable way and that Wales receives its fair share of NI support and that that is applied appropriately by the Welsh Government. Also, in terms of the lobbying that we're doing direct with Welsh Government to make sure that the position that was laid out by previous FMs and by the current FM in that health and then local government are the top two priorities for the Welsh Government in terms of funding, and we do expect a much improved position over that was trailed by the previous UK government in terms of money available for services. We have seen some revision by Welsh Government already in terms of where they believe we may be, but we will wait, as Mr Smith said, next week, the final figures. And Mr Smith is absolutely right. There will be no doubt more money than we had previously been led to believe, but what that is spent on and what pressures it is then asked to cover will be critical in terms of our analysis. So again, thank you to Mr Smith for that, and nothing further to add, but happy to take any political questions on this should there be any.
Councillor Black.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think Ben has highlighted in his report already that he anticipates the national insurance contributions will effectively add about 2.5% onto costs, and it's also highlighted that the biggest vulnerability from our point of view are the external bodies which we rely on to provide service, particularly in the social services field. So on the basis that obviously we can't predict what they're going to do in April, but on the basis that that increase may well be passed on to us, has any back of the envelope calculation been made of the impact on, for example, social services of our external providers increasing their fees by 2.5%? And if so, could you let us know what that is? Thank you.
So I'm happy to come back in, presiding member. I have made some assumptions and calculations of the impact of that, because one thing is very clear is the boundary does not include compensation for third parties. I'm toying with whether I should update you with a figure at the moment, because to some extent of a quota figure, it gives a figure for third parties to aim for, but it is certainly in the millions. I may just pause and reflect and decide whether in due course I will give you an update once it's firmed up, but I would expect it to be in the order of several £1 million for ourselves on top. I have factored that into my planning assumptions as soon as the October budget came out, and it was quite clear that some of those boundary definitions made clear that they were not in. I hope you'll forgive my slight coyness in terms of whether I quote an overall figure in advance of publishing the budget papers. You can be assured that the draft budget papers will reflect my estimate of the significant impact on third parties, and also some of the unanticipated ripple effects, as I've referenced in the report, around how you compensate the HRA versus the general fund, how the fire service is to be compensated because they don't receive any revenue support grants. So I think that's probably what I'll say for now, but rest assured I have done some calculations and given advice in my internal workings, and they will be in the budget papers which will be coming forward to Cabinet in January. Thank you.
Okay, Chris, here. Do you want to speak?
Yeah, it's the question's been highlighted, and I think the leader is right. It's pointless the speculation we're making at the moment. We may as well wait until next week when we either have the good news or the bad news, whatever it is.
Councillor Jeff Jones, did you put your hand up? I'm not sure if it went up and came back down.
Yes, I did, but Peter Black asked the question I was going to ask, and it's pointless, as Chris actually said, to think about what's perhaps going to happen next week. So thanks, Ben, for the answer, and we wait the news for next week.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. That's for an information-only report. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the review of the gambling policy. And can I call on Councillor Hopkins, please?
Yeah, thanks, Presiding Member. Before us today, we got the revised gambling policy that comes before us. What we must remember, this is reviewed every 3 years. We come to that time where now, by the 31st of January, we need to adopt the new policy. The policy has been widely advertised. We've had 3 constituencies who have responded. Some were relevant, some who did respond weren't relevant to the actual policy, but we see attached in Appendix B. What I will say, the revised policy the copy of which is highlighting Appendix C of the report, changes proposed in bold italic, and the text removed and shown striking through. The majority of the policy remains unchanged, but in relation to the dates referred to within the documents, the population details and the updates to the relevant links provided. I got nothing to add to the report, only to hope that we can make a recommendation that we adopt the policy in line with the 4 weeks, because we need to advertise it 4 weeks before the end of the 31st of January. So more than happy to move.
Councillor Stewart?
Yeah, more than happy. Second, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from anybody? Okay, the recommendation is there on page 25, and is that the proposed amendments to the policy are approved and revised, and the policy attached to Appendix C is adopted. So can I have a show of hands in support, please? Anybody against? Any abstentions? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. The next item is the council tax base calculation, and I'd like to call on Councillor Stewart, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Technical report. We take this every year. It's here to set the council tax base for the City and County of Swansea and its community councils, and also the Port Health Authority for the coming year. Where a council is required to do this every year by the 31st December. So I've got nothing to add to the report, but I'm sure myself or Mr. Smith can take technical questions if there are any.
Any questions? There's somebody to second the report then, please.
Happy to
Okay.
second, Chair.
Recommendation is the calculation of the council tax base for 25-26 be approved in accordance with the local authority's calculation of tax base Wales Regulations 95 as amended. The calculation by the Council of the City and County of Swansea for the year 25-26 shall be for the whole area of 95,063 for the area of community councils, and they're all listed there for anybody to see. So can I have a show of hands in support, please? Any against? Any abstentions? Okay, that's carried again. Thank you. The next item is the annual review of performance. And again, I'd like to call on Councillor Hopkins, please.
Thanks, Presiding Member. Yet again, we got every council in Wales has been asked to undertake a comprehensive annual review. We have 6 wellbeing objectives that we measure performance and work out our well-being and what we've achieved and the challenges we've had to deal with along the way. This report have already gone to scrutiny and audit, and there are some amendments, particularly on the comments at the audit committee, where we have included further documentation along that. This is quite a long report, but what I will say, this has been really cut back on last year's report. I think we took note from some of the comments you all made about how heavy it was, how long it was. We have listened to that. We have, although it doesn't seem that way, we try to get it cut back as much as we possibly can and include only what we've had to include. I think if the report, highlights some good practice right throughout the thing, but it also, rightly so, points out some challenges where we are in certain areas. So I'm more than happy to move the report and take any questions.
Please. Okay, thank you. Councillor Mary Jones.
Thank you very much. I did have 3 questions, but I managed to catch Councillor Robert Smith outside, and he answered one outside. It's on page 146 or 31, whichever page you're looking at. And it's just a comment. I just wanted to query. It says a scrutiny review and the corporate delivery committee. Were they 2 separate committees, or were the corporate delivery actually doing a scrutiny role? It's not quite clear in the report. Lost my page.
They were 2 separate.
Yeah, it's you can find it. It's 2 separate. And the second one is on page 148, and it's about the quality of the free school meals, and how are we actually trying to quantify the wastage. in the primary schools, because I understand that some of the schools are having difficulty with the children having the free school meals, and they're not very keen on some of the offers. And I'm wondering how we're monitoring it and what we're doing to actually reduce the wastage.
Yes, thank you, Presiding Member. I think I can provide some enlightenment on this, pending up perhaps a fuller answer in due course. Take-up statistics for each school, each primary school, are being monitored closely, and we realise that there is a big difference. There's an average, I think, of about 66%, but that varies from school to school. And I think in June they took a census varying from 35% take-up to 91% take-up. We've got the quantitative data. What the team are now going to be looking at is the qualitative data, speaking with staff, but perhaps more importantly, speaking with the children themselves, so that we get their views and their feedback on the offer that's made, how it can be improved, and also what might entice more children to eat more school meals. So it is work in hand, and I'll be happy to report in due course when we have further progress has been made.
Councillor Jones.
Presiding Member, yeah, actually on that particular issue, there was concern raised at the last education scrutiny meeting about the type of food offered, but very importantly, the quantity as well, because people were continually hungry after the meals, and a lot of people said they took them up initially and didn't follow that through. So I think, and I know the cabinet member was going to look at that, and it was going to be monitored, but it certainly is what was a concern that was raised.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Holly.
Thank you, Presiding Member. And what the cabinet member says quite right, that the shape of this report is a lot better than it's been in the past. I think the issues that it does bring up about areas for improvement, and especially on page 38 onto 39 about the construction of various projects. I think this would be a better explanation in yours about just about that, not anything else. Having gone through this, on a regular basis in scrutiny, the one thing I do find is, and I'd like to pass on through the cabinet member, I hope that the officer in charge of doing this is actually better and will return to work shortly. But I think having gone through it on a 3-monthly basis, one of the things it does strike you is the fact that a lot of the questions that or the issues for improvement that are down in this report, whilst we bring them up in scrutiny, because of the length of certain projects, you're going to have these conditions and you're going to have these areas for improvement. But what I would like to see is when we do have that in future, that the narrative is a little bit better about where we are when that snapshot is taken.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Rice first before you come back, David. Councillor Rice.
Okay, sorry about that. It's a bit remiss. I've got a couple of declarations of interest. One may relate to this item itself, as my employer is named within the report as one of the success criteria, and also that's the case of recipient of funding in question 2 on the first round of council's questions, and I will also declare a personal interest on the school admissions on number 13, as I have 3 different children may well be affected by the admissions.
Yeah, could I just give the commitment to Councillor Holly? That will be taken on board. And I did fail to thank Lee Wenham for all the work that he's put into this report. I think it's definitely looks it's a different report now, and I think the team has worked extremely hard to do so. So yeah, definitely take them points on board, and we'll get that narrative right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and the recommendation is on page 112, and it's recommended that the draft annual review of performance 23-24 is approved for publication. So can I have a show of hands and support, please? Anybody against? Any abstentions? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. The next item is the housing revenue account, and I'd like to call on Councillor Andrew Lewis, please.
Thank you, Presiding Member. So just to make sure that Council are aware, this is probably the final year that the Welsh Government rent policy will be carried forward until March 2026. So we are likely to see a change in rent policy following that, and we'll watch that closely. So the current rent policy is CPI plus 1%. So in September, CPI was 1.7%. So plus 1%, that's 2.7%, which is being proposed in the report today. But just to advise Council that our business plan was predicated on 5%. So this is actually a cut to our budget. So I'm hoping that Council will support the maximum. What the maximum means is an average of £3.13 per week for tenants. But of course, 70% of our tenants don't pay rent, so they have housing benefits. So this would impact, some of them pay some rent, some of them pay all rent. So we're looking at around 30% of tenants being impacted on that. In addition to that, we've also got, as is stated in the report, 11 properties with a rental anomaly, and that will be resolved in a manageable, affordable way, working with those tenants. I'd like to place on record my thanks to the rents teams who deal with managing rent arrears and giving financial support to our tenants, which is much needed. And I just hope that this is approved today. I'm happy to move the report, happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Stewart. Any questions, please? Any online? No? Okay, if there's no questions, the recommendations are on page 187. There's 3 different ones. There's rents to be increased by 2.7 within the maximum permitted under Welsh Government policy, as detailed in section 3.1. And 11 properties with anomaly rents are corrected in line with the Welsh Government policy, as outlined in section 3.2. And 3, the fees, charges and allowances are approved as outlined in section 3.3. So can I have a show of hands and support, please? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you, Councillor Hennigan. Thank you. Okay, and Councillor May. Okay, the next item is the review of the Swansea Council school admissions arrangements. And can I call on Councillor Robert Smith?
Yeah, thank you, Presiding Member. And can I thank the officers and also members of the Admissions Forum and the Scrutiny Committee for allowing discussion of the issues in this report. The report outlines the conclusions. Members will be aware and may well recall the discussion, I think it was in March of last year, about our admissions arrangements, and these were considered by the Admissions Forum in its report, in its consideration. They modelled various scenarios and they looked at this in detail, looking at the impact of the various criteria and looking at the potential changes that could be made. And section 4.2 of the report outlines the arguments for and against various options, and 4.3 refers to the outcome of the modelling. What is being recommended is that we adhere to the existing criteria. That is not to say that the existing criteria is perfect, but I think when we look at the alternatives, when you look at what could be the impact of those many changes to this policy, the conclusion of all was that we should retain status quo. What I would say is that this needs to be looked at in the context of right schools in right places. We are looking at our school estate. We recognise, of course, that every statistic, that even though we're talking of low percentages, every statistic is an individual child, and we are striving to make the best we can for every child in Swansea. So I think with those words, Chair, I would move this report, and I hope that the Council supports it.
Have a seconder, please. Okay, thank you, Councillor Stewart. And I've got Councillor Lyndon Jones online. Councillor Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Presiding Member. As the Cabinet Member knows, number of members of the public came along to the recent education scrutiny meeting where we were actually discussing this issue. They had genuine concerns around the policy, and it was around their children who might end up in different primary schools with all the problems that causes. I would like to thank the team from education who came along. Will always attend our meetings and were really thorough in their answers and listened to all the questions, and there was a thorough discussion about that, and I also thank you for that too. What I would ask is, I understand the outcome of the policy, but I would ask that the policy is continually monitored, and during the course of the year, if there are, how many children are put into that, or families are put into that position where their children are in different schools. But I do thank you, and I certainly, as well as the team from education, for coming along to that scrutiny meeting. And as I say, there was a real discussion, and thank you for that.
Councillor Will Thomas, please.
Thanks, Presiding Member. I'd just like to echo what Lyndon said there about thanking the committee and the cabinet member for allowing people to put their views forward on that. I have to say, after a very lengthy discussion and scrutiny, I still do not understand the council stance on this. I don't understand at all. I'd encourage people to go back and watch the debate, although it is quite long. I just totally do not understand it. If you've got a child in catchment and you've got another child that's coming into that school, I think you should be prioritised over the distance. I think we're breaking up families, we're making people do 2 school runs. It just does not make sense. So I think it should be looked at regularly, and I'll be voting against it. Thank you.
Councillor Smith, just to come back.
Yes, just to give that reassurance, we will keep this policy under review going forward and through the admissions forum, and we'll be looking at the data as things develop. President Member.
Okay, are there any more questions? No? Okay, the recommendation then is on 203, page 203, and it's recommended that the council considers and accepts the findings of the review by the School Admissions Forum on the admissions arrangements and its criteria as outlined in this report. So can I have a show of hands of support, please? Okay, anybody against? Thank you. And then the abstentions. Thank you. Okay, it's carried in. Okay, the next item is item 14, and it's the amendments to the council's constitution, the review of the council's procedure rules 22, 23 and 24 relating to councillors' questions. And I call on Mr. Evans, please.
Thank you, Presiding Member. This report seeks to ensure that councillors retain their opportunity to hold the executive to account by asking councillor questions. We're very aware that in the rare occasion that a council meeting does get cancelled, those questions fall. This is an amendment to the Constitution to address that, and it just allows a second set of 30 minutes in that event. It's pleasing to note that it's got cross-party support from the political group leaders. Thank you.
Need a seconder here? Move. Okay, and the recommendation is that the council's procedure rules 22, 23 and 24 of the council's constitution be amended to reflect the proposals outlined in paragraph 5 of the report. So I can have a show of hands in support, please. Anybody against? Any abstentions? Okay, that's moved. Thank you very much. And the next item is moving on to councillor questions. There are 2 parts to the questions tonight. There are a lot more in the first part than in the second. So if you can be brief, please, you'll have a bit more chance on the second half as long as you keep to the rules on the first part, okay? So the first one is from Councillor Wendy Fitzgerald or Councillor Mary Jones. Do you have a supplementary, Mary?
Thank you, presiding member. It'll teach me to put my name to questions because Councillor Fitzgerald isn't here, or Councillor Philpott. So just thank the cabinet member for a very in-depth response, and I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Councillor Walton.
Yes, just reading the question, I'm sure we all dispute this categorisation anyway, but can the leader confirm that I'm right in saying that the report actually refers to a much larger area, not just Swansea, such as the criticism of air quality, which in fact is with reference to Tata Steel. Also, further to that, I know the PwC who wrote the report actually pointed out that the interpretation that particularly Wales Online did was actually wrong. So I don't really see why this question is coming to a public arena when hopefully this misinformation has died a death.
Peter.
Chair, thank you. Yeah, Councillor Walton is absolutely right. I think PwC at the time issued a statement which made it very clear that any conclusion which suggested that Swansea was one of the worst places to live in the UK, which I think was the headline that Wales Online ran, with a very, very heavily caveated article underneath it, I have to say, was one that was built on the fact that some of the measures that they do measure, and Councillor Walton is right again, are not purely about Swansea or its city centre, but the much broader Swansea Bay area, and measures such as air quality, etc., that all feed into these figures, would be affected by the air quality that was coming out of Tata Steel at the time. Now, again, those things are outside of our control, but when they're branded Swansea, they unfortunately can be portrayed as things that apply to this area, and people can think that that means the city. But PwC were very clear. They were clear that there are very strong reasons to be optimistic, and I think they also were very clear that Swansea is estimated to be the 7th fastest growing city in the UK next year. I believe that's the first time we've ever seen that suggestion. And of course, that is due to the fact that we have a significant regeneration, jobs creation and growth programme going on in this city, and long may it continue. So thank you, Councillor Walton.
Next is Councillor Andrew Williams. Oh, Councillor Gordon, sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Can I just thank the leader for the full and detailed answer, really, as to how we're supporting people this winter. And really just to ask, could you bring it up to date? Because I think things have moved quite quickly, even since you've given this answer. So you touched upon it earlier, but what has been done more recently even than this to support people who are struggling?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Gordon. As I said earlier, over 1,000 vouchers are ready to go out to families. I believe councillors will be signing for those in the next few days. I don't have the stats on the current bus journey. I was hoping to receive those today, but again, if they are anything like we saw in the summer and when we previously run this, we see a 20 to 30% increase in people using bus journeys. And of course, when they do that, they're then offsetting the costs of taking that bus journey, which for a family of 4 would be around £20 per day in terms of costs. That is money that they can then use for other purposes to offset other pressures that they may be feeling. We know that food and warm hubs, Councillor Gwilliam is taking forward that, and a number of grants are going out to help communities offer those warm spaces. I was really pleased to visit St Thomas recently and to talk to the members of the community over there and visit the warm hub. Really, really great community spirit, and you can see the impact that those sort of grants are making to communities across Swansea. I think also it's really important for our young people. We did engage with DVLA during the COVID pandemic, and I have to pay tribute to Mark Jones in DVLA, who's one of their senior IT officers there, who conceived the scheme to repurpose civil service laptops and tablets. And those are repurposed, refurbished, provided with licenses, and then allocated out through our schools to children that may need them, who cannot afford those devices themselves, to help them to learn. We've also seen Cwtmawr really move forward in terms of the amount of people. I think over 100,000 interventions have been made by packages have gone out from Cwtmawr, and again working with Amazon as one of their main partners. There are a significant number of children's toys and games that are available for distribution to families in Swansea this winter and this Christmas. So again, we will have the final figures of the campaign. Total investment from this council is in excess of 660,000, and I know of no greater scheme in Wales this year of support going out, which is so comprehensive and joined up. And I want to place on record my thanks to all of the cabinet members that are participating with their staff, and all of our fantastic staff and volunteers and partners that are making this happen to help people through the winter.
Leader. The next question is from Councillor Peter May. Councillor Rice, yeah.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I just want to firstly thank the leader or cabinet member who put together the answer to this question. Just as a quick follow-up question to it, am I right to think that the original budget was 4.8 million for the scheme of replacement with the new Oracle system and is now somewhere north of 11 million pounds?
Yeah, I haven't got the figures to hand, but it does sound about right. We have made several representations in several meetings over the past 12 months and also during COVID as well. So COVID had a massive impact on this project, which caused a significant delay, which then increased costs. Not something we could have foreseen. And I have to say that we have seen with other councils, particularly in England, where their costs were spiralling towards over 100 million pounds. So I think in Swansea, we've done pretty well to remain within a fairly reasonable envelope. And I think it's fair to say it's an excellent system to which we haven't seen the best of it yet, because there are other parts to Oracle that we can introduce, explore and improve our systems across the council in terms of making them more efficient, better for customer service, better for the staff that are using the system. So you haven't seen the best of it yet. The best is yet to come. But it did go over budget, but not as much as some English authorities, I'm pleased to say.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from Councillor Peter Black.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This question, as with Councillor Mary Jones's first question, is of course a month out of date. So I'm just wondering if we have any update, if the Council's Tackling Poverty team have any estimates of the number of people taking up pension credits in Swansea, and an estimate of how many are still not taking it, even though they may be entitled to it. It'd just be interesting to see what that looks like now and whether there is more work that can be done. I very much welcome what has been done, but whether more work can be done to try to get more people taking up this benefit. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Black. I don't have the final figures because it's a change in position, but we have, as you know, we do this every year. This isn't something new for the council. We encourage people to claim the benefits to which they're entitled to. Obviously, pension credit is an important benefit for people to claim in terms of being able to access money that they would need. I was actually in a meeting with Citizens Advice today, and they've seen an increase themselves, and they were feeding back their figures. But again, I don't want to state a figure tonight because it may not be the complete one, but we'll endeavour to provide council or councillors with an update as we get to the end of that process.
Thank you. The next question is from Councillor Leslie Walton.
Yeah, just to check with the leader, I think he mentioned this earlier, but has the fact that the city now is the 7th fastest growing city, has this happened ever in the past under any other administration?
I could give an answer aligned with the style of David Phillips and say no. But the longer answer is not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge. It certainly, I don't think, happened between 2004 and 2012. Important dates to remember. But on a more serious note, look, we do often in this chamber debate what the value and what the cost and the risk of delivering on developments is. When you get recognised and you are anticipated to be a city that will grow and be the 7th fastest growing. And again, if you look at the figures, that whole region of Western Gateway is due to be the fastest growing region outside of London next year, of which we play a major part. That is because we took decisions to take forward schemes. We secured the City deal, £1.3 billion of investment for the region. We have since delivered projects. We've taken forward things like the Albert Hall and the Palace Theatre. 71-72 Kingsway will shortly be handed over to us and opened. Just those 3 sites will have been able to help us deliver 1,000 new jobs into the city centre. And of course, it does not end there, because we're busy doing a store of Castle Gardens will start in the new year. Announcements very imminent on Debenhams. There are also the taking forward of things like the public sector hub. But there is a lot more to be announced early in 2025, and I look forward to sharing that in due course with Council and with members of the public as we continue to deliver on our ambitions to not just be 7th, but let's hope we can get higher in the next league table.
Hi, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I thought we'd stop standing up and sitting up, but if you want us to stand up, there's no problem. I will stand up. Can I say thank you for the follow-up of the question we asked to all these wonderful things that are happening. Can I ask you though, is there any new retail opened in the city centre? And when I say that, I am acutely aware that there's a rumour going around that one of the ladies' fashion shops is about to close. And if you could give us any indication if that is correct. If that is correct, that is a blow for Swansea's retail take. I know we are building loads of flats and we're hoping to bring more people into the city centre. That's fine. But at the end of the day, the city centre is supposed to be a retail centre. I can remember many years being told that our retail centre now stretches from the M4 to the beach because of what happened at the enterprise zone. I quite understand that. But I'd like to know if you have any updates on what's happening with the particular retail in the city centre.
In terms of new shops opening, certainly there has been. I don't have the figures to hand, but I think BID provided those to scrutiny recently in terms of the numbers of churn in the city centre. Obviously, some businesses do close, new ones have opened, but it's been a net gain. We are hopeful of new announcements in terms of further retailers early in the new year. I am aware of rumours circulating around a retailer. I've not had those formally confirmed myself. But again, our strategy has always been to retain retailers wherever possible and to try and create the conditions where retailers will stay. But if retailers do choose to leave or have failed nationally, which has happened to many of the ones like Debenhams and others that are no longer in this city centre or any other, then we seek to replace them with new traders and new retailers. And that's what we will do if any of the rumours that may be circulating are true.
Councillor Rice.
Thank you. Could the leader confirm how much the empty Debenhams building has cost since the council's taken on?
Could I just check which building Councillor Rice is talking to?
Debenhams.
I will get that figure. I know in the first year, I believe we had made arrangements to offset some of those costs. I think they were reported previously. And obviously, that cost will continue until such time as we have a tenant paying rent. And that is the position that we are currently actively pursuing. And as I said, I hope to be able to make announcements early in the new year of who the tenants will be and at what date we expect them to formally open. But the reality is we had 2 choices at the time at which Debenhams failed nationally. We could have left that store to stay closed, or we could take it into ownership as part of our estate and try and bring in tenants to reactivate that site to help with the viability and sustainability of the quadrant. The quadrant is so essential to the city centre's welfare that having a large site like Debenhams empty for a prolonged or indefinite period of time would have been damaging. What we have been able to do by securing that site is to make sure that we have a building that will be reactivated shortly. Again, I am frustrated in the fact that because we haven't finalised the heads of terms with the people that we are in negotiations with, I am unable to share the names of them. I'm sure colleagues on all sides would appreciate that I am keen to do that for various reasons. I'm unable to do so until we've reached heads of terms. But Again, I would just say to Councillor Rice, we will give the figures, and again, we've worked as best we can within the rules to make sure that any costs, that holding costs that we have during the period while the building is being reconfigured and relet are as low as possible.
Okay, next question from Councillor Peter Black.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just start on this question by paying tribute to the council staff who deal with fly tipping incidents? They do a fantastic job and certainly are very responsive when complaints are passed on to them. I think the big increase in fly tipping in the city in the last year has been quite disturbing and quite unsettling. And, you know, again, the staff are doing their best to get on top of it. And I particularly find distressing people just leaving, casually leaving stuff in the street. I mean, you know, there's fly tipping at particular areas, but just dumping stuff in the street and walking away from it is really bringing the area down. And that is quite disturbing. So I'm just wondering, what more can be done, particularly in terms of prosecutions? I don't think we're doing as well as, for example, Neath Betobus and other authorities in terms of prosecutions for this, and whether or not we need to reinforce our enforcement staff to ensure that where this does happen, that we do our best to try to punish those people who are creating a blight in our communities by this particular activity. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor May.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Peter, Councillor Black, for those kind words. As you know, we are struggling in Swansea with people really fly tipping illegally. Our teams are trying to get to the bottom of it, but sadly with residents that are seeing the fly tipping and they're not willing to come forward because they're afraid of repercussions. But I can assure you that we are on top of it as much as we can.
Sorry, Councillor May.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer, and thank the Cabinet Member for the answer to the question. Can I echo from the Uplands groups the remarks that Councillor Black has made? As one of the wards with one of the most highest instances of fly tipping being cleared, as well as the Cabinet Members himself in this Town Hill ward, we find the clearing up of fly tipping very efficient. Yeah, it's not a very nice job clearing up anybody's messes. So if you could convey our sentiments from the Uplands group back to the staff to say that the fly tipping clearers are doing a great job. Onto the question now. There's a sentence in there: will continue to increase public awareness of successful enforcement action. Now, I don't know if you could delve into the annals of time, the Cabinet Member here, and ask when the last time was that the department increased public awareness or of successful enforcement action. So, you know, could you provide an example, please, of when this has last been done?
Yeah, at the top of my head, I haven't got a time when it was last.
A written answer will suffice.
Yeah, but I'll give you a written answer to the question, mate. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, move on to the next question then, and it's from Councillor Fiona Gordon. No supplementaries. Okay. Next question then is from Councillor Peter Black. No supplementaries. Thank you. Question 9 is from Councillor Keaton. Sorry, Councillor Keaton, I can't see if are you online. Yeah. Okay. Councillor Fogarty then, please.
Thank you. And can I just take the opportunity as well to say it's such a pleasure to be back after my maternity leave. You can no doubt hear that Emrys is with me, so apologies for that. Could I just ask the Cabinet Member to confirm that the scheme is still on track to be delivered by spring 2025 and on budget? And also, will you join me in thanking the contractor, Knight Brown, for their efforts throughout the project to engage with local residents by offering multiple public sessions to find out more about the progress of the scheme and raise any concerns they have?
Thank you. Councillor Stevens, are you online?
Yes, yeah, I am, Chair. So yeah,
thank you.
No worries. Yeah, so thank you, Chair, and thank you to Councillor Fogarty for the supplementary. Yes, I am pleased to confirm that the project does remain on track for completion by spring.
and it is being delivered within its £24 million budget. So this is thanks to the excellent planning, engagement and dedication of everyone involved in this project. And I will certainly join you in commending the incredible efforts of the contractor and a wider project team. They've faced significant challenges from managing tidal conditions to keeping sections of the promenade accessible to the public throughout the works. Despite these hurdles, the teams worked tirelessly to ensure the projects to be completed by spring, and I'm pleased to say that almost 3/4 of the prom will be reopened for walkers and cyclists in time for Christmas. So people can enjoy the seafront and our stunning sea views during the festive season, Chair. So the newly accessible areas will showcase many of the improvements that are already in place, and the Knights Brown, the contractor, and our project team's engagement with the local community has been outstanding. In fact, one of them that rings a bell is their see-through time educational project, which has been done with local schools, and it's really brought our coastal heritage and the engineering to life for the youngsters for our younger residents, giving a real sense of connection and pride with the work being done. So additionally, the regular public drop-in sessions and the updates via newsletters and social media has kept everyone informed and provided a platform to raise questions or concerns. And the community's involvement has certainly been central to the project's success by far. So I do think, Chair, that the scheme's not only about protecting Mumbles for decades to come, but it's also making it an even better place for residents and visitors alike. And I'm confident in the end the results will be something we can all be proud of. So thank you for the question.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. Okay, that's the end of the first part of the questions. There are no... Oh, someone. Who is it? Oh, sorry. O'Brien, Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I just want to echo actually what Councillor Stevens and Councillor Rebecca Fogarty have mentioned on behalf of myself and Councillor Thomas and Councillor Andrew O'Connor, that the team Knights Brown have been excellent to deal with as the ward councillors who, it sort of predominantly affects our ward. And it's a huge project. So Knights Brown, the whole team have been absolutely fantastic, but also not forgetting the council staff as well. There's been huge pressure during the whole process, and they've held regular meetings with us as ward councillors, keeping us informed. Although obviously there's always a few contentious issues that we may not always agree on. However, it's been a really positive experience, and I just want to place on record our thanks to the council officers too. Thank you.
Okay, that's the end of the first part of the questions. We move on to the second part, and the first question is from Councillor Mary Jones. Oh, sorry, Chris. Don't eat all the mince pies when you're out there, Chris.
Thank you very much, Cabinet Member, for the response. But considering there's a Cabinet report going next week showing a deficit in social services, is there any update? Sorry, my voice is going on. Is there any update from when you wrote this report to what you have you're presenting next week in Cabinet?
No update as such. I mean, I think obviously it's very challenging because of the hugely increased demand and other factors, but so we are developing the recovery plan to make sure that we can bring the overspend down. But more important than that, we are continuing to increase our investment in social services. It continues to be one of our priority areas across the council. We've put an extra 6 million into social services mid-year, and we're developing this new target operating model, which is really looking at shifting out the forefront of our activity towards those preventative approaches and promoting independence independence and really prioritising making the best use of our resources. So, you know, it's all about developing what is best for individuals and their carers, and making sure that, you know, people don't have to resort to that long-term care, which is unfortunately much more expensive. So I'd say no specific update that's different to what's here as such, but obviously we're going to be bringing those the budget saving forward over in the coming months.
So can you confirm that there's no alteration to the criteria for accessing domiciliary and residential care services on the horizon?
Criteria for accessing services? I don't believe so. No, not. You know, we continue to assess individuals on a case by case basis. You know, it's very important that that you know, people get what they need at the right time.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from Councillor Peter May.
Okay, I've got a couple here, and I think Councillor Rice has got some as well. So
Mind you've got 3 minutes, okay?
That's not being counted, your intervention, is it? Okay, so looking at the figures here, it's saying basically that over 7,000, sorry, not 7,000, that's a bit naughty of me, was it? 700 desks and workstations are actually empty every day in the Guildhall. It says you've got an average of occupancy averages 270 staff a day, where there are peaks and troughs. So what is the trough if 270 is an average out of these 1,034 workstations, and what strategies are being put in place to actually increase the occupancy, or is it a priority for the council to increase occupancy in the Guildhall?
Yeah, I would. Thanks to Councillor May for the question. I think I thought it would be self-explanatory. We've had an agile working policy for some time. It predates COVID, but of course, the way in which people use office space changed significantly during the pandemic, and since then, what we've seen people doing is drifting back to the workspace and washing in and out of the building on a regular basis. That's what happens in most employers now. People will spend a few days a week in the office and a few days a week working from other locations. That's perfectly acceptable. These figures just identify the fact that there aren't 700 desks consistently empty in the building, but that at some time there will be desks that are used and there will be desks that aren't. That is perfectly normal way of working now, not just in this council, but in employers across the country. And I would say, I'm sure Councillor May would accept that he doesn't spend 100% of his time in this building sitting at a desk in the independent group room. He's usually out in his ward pointing at drains or trees or climbing on vehicles, whatever. But it's perfectly legitimate for Councillor May to be doing that. But we would not be taking all of the independent parties' space off them, because we accept that they will be in other parts doing a job for their constituents when they need to be. So I think you know, it's a perfectly and legitimate way of working. We encourage people to work part-time within the building and to wash in and out as is sensible.
A point of correction, we're not an independent party, as Councillor Stewart knows. We're the Uplands Party, which shame he didn't give us a name check this time.
Councillor Rice.
Thank you. I've got 3 quick questions for the leader. First one is, obviously there are plans which have been recently announced, or proposals for the Civic Centre, and that will be due to close hopefully over time as planned. And in fairness, there seems to be quite interesting, exciting plans for the Civic Centre. Okay, the question I have for this is, with the building that we're sitting in at the moment only being a quarter full, and there being 359 FTEs looking to relocate from the Civic Centre, why are we building a new public sector hub when there's plenty of space here? And a follow-up question to that is, I understand also that the public sector hub is being planned to be shared with the Welsh Government and other agencies. How much money are the Welsh Government putting forward to the capital of this new building?
Okay, thank you. Thank Councillor Rice for the question, but I reject the premise. Again, I think he's trying to manipulate numbers to give an impression that's not correct. There aren't hundreds of spare desks in this building, and you would never have an agile working policy where every minute of every day you have the desk occupied and people immediately stepping into the chair and sitting down as the other person moves off. That was never the case before COVID, and it isn't the case afterwards. I think it's a gross misrepresentation of the answer. In terms of the public sector hub, well, at the moment, we are home to a number of government departments and functions in the civic centre. Those are UK government functions. We're also in discussion with the UK government departments about potentially housing themselves in the new public sector hub. We are in discussions as well with Welsh Government about potentially taking a presence there, and we will require part of that building. The whole thing about public sector hubs, it's not ones that just occur in Swansea. It's part of the previous national government strategy. It's part of the current national government strategy to move functions out of London into other regions so that the economic benefit of government jobs is felt in those locations. That is why it's sensibly and economically sensible for us to move our staff away from the civic centre so that can be redeveloped by Urban Splash, our partners, and turned over to other functions, which again will add to the draw to Swansea, whilst we place the economic impact, the important economic impact of public sector office workers in the core city centre. That the reality is you simply it wouldn't be sensible to try and base everybody in this building and try and cram them in to make some sort of numerical system work. I know the estates have been monitoring the room usage throughout the building and where necessary amending the policy to make sure that the buildings, the spaces within the Guildhall are used as best as possible. But again, it is a misrepresentation to suggest that every desk in this building should be occupied 100% of the time. That is not the policy we operate.
And sorry.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I'd like to thank the leader for his entertaining responses so far. I wondered if the leader would agree with me that actually having a flexible working policy where people can work from home and work within the office is also really important to attracting talent. We can't always compete with the private sector in terms of what they pay, but we can compete with them in terms of being the overall working experience that people get. And I wonder if the leader would be able to comment on that.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Bennett. Absolutely agree with you. And I think, listening to the Uplands Party, I think you'd be thinking that we were back in the workhouse days. The world has moved on. We want to make sure that our staff are well looked after and that we want to ensure that people have a good work-life balance. But also, I think it's sensible. You've probably seen it in your working day. I'm sure everybody in this chamber has. The days of travelling for an hour or 2 hours to a meeting when you can jump on Teams and do it from your current location means you're more productive in the day by working in that way. And again, when it's sensible to be in this building for a meeting, we do it. When it's sensible to be somewhere else, we do that. When it's sensible to work from home, we do that. That is what a modern workplace and a modern workforce is like. And I have to say, I think it's what most of the people in this chamber would want for our workforce.
I think it's Councillor Linda James. I'm not quite sure because it's so small. Did you, Councillor James?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Presiding Member. The response says that the council is investing in additional sensors to track the occupancy of the building. Can you explain what these sensors are, please, and what they're costing the council?
I don't have the detail in terms of the cost, but my understanding is that the sensors were there to monitor room usage and to help inform the agile accommodation strategy. I've had a discussion with the head of estates this morning. He hasn't provided me yet with all of the detail that they've been able to obtain, but essentially it shows when the room is being used and when the room isn't. It doesn't really collect anything other than that as far as I'm aware.
Thank you.
The next question is from Councillor Holly.
Thank you, Chair. Well, thank you, President Member. Can I thank the member for the cabinet member for the comprehensive answer, and it just shows the amount of money that we actually spend with certain bus companies. I think we all look forward to the day when we can have our own bus company because of the way in which these subsidies are actually run. Obviously, part of this problem is, and we've all accept the fact that it's very, very unreliable service, and we need to have a reliable service if we are to have an active travel policy or a policy to get cars off the road, which I must admit the party in Cardiff in charge is very actively pursuing. Now, we all agree that it would be nice to be able to use a lot more public transport. It would be nice to be able to use a good railway service, which unfortunately we can't because of many reasons. But I would like the leader to actually, put forward his idea about when we will be able to actually have either our own bus company or we can tender for a whole of the area as a bus company.
I think the response would normally come from Councillor Stevens, but if he's happy for me to respond on this one, I will do so. In terms of franchising, our understanding is that the bus bill will complete its ascension and a royal assent next year. In terms of us taking on the opportunity to either run a bus company or to participate in the control of bus company operations, we will be first out of the blocks in Wales in 2027. So our region will be the first one to franchise. We've recently had a presentation from Transport for Wales on that. I also know that we are shortly expecting some announcement from Transport for Wales in terms of additional services from Swansea, which will help with that. And again, as Councillor Holly said, the position around the motor vehicle is for communities around Swansea and certainly to the west. They don't really have another choice if they want to get into work or to get around the area. Certainly they don't have the choices that people per se in London would have in terms of the options for public transport. And I think we've got to start reframing. Once the bus bill is adopted, I assume it will be, then it's reframing the discussion around bus and rail usage as being something equivalent and potentially a better option than having to have a motor vehicle. Because at the moment, we see buses as being used as a resort for people who perhaps can't afford a motor vehicle or don't have the opportunity to own one. Well, we've got to turn that argument around, because actually, if you've got really good, reliable, affordable transport that people can use, then people will choose to use it. Members will know that we are lobbying Welsh and UK government heavily in terms of the proposals we have for our metro system, the rail metro. Transport for Wales have done a huge amount of work on that to get the station design done for us to understand the costs of creating that metro. We are very keen, as been said in this chamber previously, to really embrace franchising and to take much greater control of buses in Swansea, including potentially running our own bus operations. And again, that may give us certain benefits like home to school transport, control over that, things that we are reliant on private companies to do for us at the moment. And again, that's the commitment from this side of the chamber. We're very keen. Also keen to participate in the Welsh Government's hydrogen bus trial, which we understand will take place in the next 18 months. And again, that will give us an opportunity to not just trial new vehicles, but also to trial the new fuel system. Because again, if we're serious about moving away from fossil fuels and the use of diesel and petrol vehicles, then moving to hydrogen will be the solution for buses. So, Chair, very happy to confirm that that's our intention.
Back on the supplementary. I thank you for the answers, and I would ask that if you've had a briefing from Transport for Wales, I think all the other members of this chamber should also have that briefing from Transport for Wales. I think it would help us all understand what they are doing and how they're going to do it, and more importantly, help us understand their philosophy about what they're doing and how they're doing it. We know there's going to be a new train running from Carmarthen to, I think it's up to Birmingham eventually, but not by a private company. Now, the problem is it's not going to stop at Swansea unless it's going to stop at either Cocket, Cocket, or Orlando, or Upper Llansamla. Now, if it is going to stop, then we need to understand that as well, because of the issues of parking, etc., and getting on these new trains. And that is the one thing I think, having considered, and I'm very reluctant to say anything about a metro in this chamber, as it gets thrown down my throat so many times that it wasn't even mine, but there we are. I know that, I gotta say, it is Christmas, I gotta lighten it up a bit. I'd like to see Father Christmas on that bus. But anyway, that's besides the point. What I'm trying to get over is the fact that if you've had this briefing, then all of us, the rest of the members in this chamber, should also have that briefing, so we can understand what Transport for Wales are doing, and maybe they'll understand what they're doing as well then. Thank you.
Yeah, Chair, happy to give that commitment. Look, Cabinet only had the briefing yesterday. The intention is for that briefing to come to all members. What I would say is there are several different briefings, and I think it would be sensible for us to try and package those together for members, because the briefing we had yesterday was around the direction of travel for franchising and how potentially that process will work in terms of getting us to 2027. Not a huge amount of detail in it at the moment, and that's one of the reasons why we haven't rushed to bring a presentation to Council. The second part of it, though, about how the metro system and where the stations would work, and what the regularity of services through those various stations on the metro, and what that would look like, that is certainly something we can bring for members to see, because I think that is of interest. And certainly we'd be looking, I think, in Swansea station of going from either 2.5 trains an hour to 10 trains an hour, and other stations seeing similar increases in the regularity of service. So yeah, very happy to share that. It's again, look, I would want all members to be lobbying both governments very hard to make sure that we get the 250 odd million that we require to build the rail network, the metro. And obviously, I hope all members will be in support of us taking some control over buses, because we have, I think all of us believed that the service can be improved and that we can do a good job in terms of giving our communities better services. But I would just say, and as it is Christmas, I think our metro will be running on rails, not on the roads. So
on that particular point, I think the southeast of Wales has got a metro system which is running on rails, which is financed through their city deal. And when you think about it, that actually system is going to repay the city deal. It is going to show a profit. Ours won't. But that's just an offside. But anyway, you deserve that. The fact is, whatever system we have, it's got to be reliable. And that system, whatever stations it has, if their stations have got to be available. Not one up in Velindre is possible, but let's see what that presentation says first, and then we'll move on from there.
Look, that is the whole point of that presentation, which is that Transport for Wales's work has been around the feasibility and how you would construct the railway stations, how you would create the car parking and accesses to them, all of the modelling work around people's journeys, because again, I think what Councillor Holly was alluding to underneath the humour was the fact that, you know, the previous Secretary of State for Wales had talked about a station at Velindre that wasn't connected to anything, and we had grave concerns that actually would increase journey times by car and would have damaged journeys into the city centre. Nobody would want to see that. So yes, that information is something I think members will find very useful, and we'll be happy to bring it.
Councillor Fogarty, did you put your hand up and it went up but it went back down? No? Okay, thank you. Okay, the next question then is from Councillor Philpott or Councillor Black.
Thank you, Chair. Can I thank the Cabinet Member for the very comprehensive answer? Of course, just to note that behind these figures, these day centres also provide a very valuable community resource. I just went to the Crest Christmas market this afternoon, and of course, the St John's also hosts the men's shed and a food resource as well. So I think it's important to note that these are very important hubs, not just for its direct clients, but also for the whole community. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Kevin Griffiths.
Yes, thank you, Presiding Member. Can I just say a big thank you to the Council for keeping these much needed day centres open and supporting our older people with learning disabilities. Thank you very much.
Okay, the next question is from Councillor Linda James.
Thank you, presiding member, and thank the cabinet member for his response and the information that was on the website, the link that was included in the answer, which I went through very carefully. However, it doesn't answer all my questions, so I'd be grateful if I could have more detailed response. And I'm quite happy for a written reply. There is no information there concerning Tetra Paks, which was something I had a particular interest in. And the other item that I noted was fairly missing was the destinations of many of the materials, especially those that are being exported. I wondered if we could have more information where these various materials get exported to. Thank you.
Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Jones, for your question. I'll certainly get the officers to give you a written information back.
Thank you.
Okay, that's the end of the questions, everybody. So thank you all for your attendance. And if I don't see you all, have a lovely Christmas and a safe journey home. Okay.